Hey, it's me, ezzB, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can hack Dragon's B12. Kind of. This is a gameplay recording of a team that I came up with to see if I could run Dragon's B12 with terrible rune quality, terrible monsters, and just not take any damage whatsoever. So as you can see here, it's working. And none of these monsters here, even when they're attacking with their skill 1, ever lose their immunity. So how did I do it, right? Did I use an emulator? Did I somehow come to us servers? No, this is all legitimate gameplay, and to show you how I did it, I'm going to rewind back to the beginning of the video and show you guys what we did. Just to prove how easy it is, here is the rune quality of the monsters that I used. So this are just random runes that I've had on my Miang forever, nothing special, and a bunch of those runes I could actually take off and the run would still work. Same is true for the Rashid. This is runes that I just had on the Rashid when I was playing around with it, and a bunch of these runes could be taken out, and the rune quality could be lower. The Chloe, you see here, only has 4 runes, and this 4-star unawakened unskilled Miang has 3 runes, and this level 1 Miang unskilled unawakened only has 3 runes as well, and there is no leader skill. So this is a team that, as long as you have a Chloe, anybody can achieve it, because if you don't have a Rashid or a Miang, this same team would work exactly the same if you had 4 Michelles. And with 4 Michelles, you only need to have 2 of them max skilled, and your Chloe doesn't need to be max skilled either. So you can literally do this with a 4-star Chloe level 1, and obviously your Michelles will be getting some experience points from the skill ups that you feed to her, but other than that, that's all you need. So as you can see, the way it works is everybody moves first, and then the Chloe boosts the invincibility and immunity, and then everybody who has the time of beneficial effects goes next and increases that beneficial effect time. And because you have enough units that are boosting the invincibility, they actually loop to a point where you can have invincibility indefinitely. This indefinite invincibility can also be achieved with 3 as opposed to 4 beneficial effects increasers. So as long as they're max skilled, you could do this with 3 Miangs, 3 Rashids, 3 Michelles, 1 of each, any combination of those 3, as long as you have 3 of them and they're all max skilled. I unfortunately didn't have the skill ups to do a Michelle or a second Rashid, so I was forced to do it with 4. Obviously, this is not really a realistic team, which is why I am doing this for fun and for Baggle's Dragon B12 challenge. However, there is some potential with this team if you had 3 units that were max skilled, because then that 4th unit can literally be anything, as long as it is, as long as it moves between your boosters, your Miangs, your Michelles, and your Rashids, but before your Chloe. So everyone goes, so all of your boosters go, as well as your choose your own adventure monster, then Chloe boosts immunity on everybody. Chloe has to go last because I was running into some, well, she may not have to go last if everything is max skilled, but when Chloe was moving first, I was having issues. 2 problems emerged. So the first problem was that Chloe would cycle out of her invincibility faster than the other monsters, and so then over time she would run down to where she just didn't have any invincibility up, and there were a couple runs that failed that way. The other issue that is a challenge with this is it's not just enough to have invincibility set up and then you're good for that run, right? You also have to be able to turn cycle your cooldown so that when you start a new level, everybody has their skills up. So by having the Chloe move last, it's actually giving you another turn to cycle before you have to use those boosting skills. So the Chloe should be relatively easy because the Chloe never uses her skill 3 after the first time. So your Chloe should be set up. So the issue is your other boosters. And with a 3-turn cooldown, you can basically get away with it as long as you're going to get 2 turns cooled down before they go anyway, because you get a 1-turn cooldown for starting a new stage, and then they go in that first turn, they don't have to use that skill. So then that's another turn to cycle, and with a 3-turn cooldown, and you already get two cooldown turn cycles, it's pretty easy. But as you can see here, I can basically boost my invincibility as high as I want. And what you'll see in this run is eventually it gets to 9. And once your buff is over 9 turns, so it gets to 10 or higher, there's a weird mechanic in the game. I don't know if you actually want to call it a glitch, but it just doesn't show that number anymore. So what you'll see when it gets there is that the number just disappears. And that's what we're seeing on the last screen. I've cycled this team so many times that the invincibility for everybody and the immunity for everybody has gone over 10. So you'll see it right here briefly with the Chloe. But once it turn cycles one more time, you'll see it for more units. So that's essentially how the team works. As I said, there is some potential here to make the team faster if you max skilled everybody and put your Chloe and your Miangs on all damage builds. That would certainly make it faster. I think you could get this team down to manualing in maybe like a 3 or 4 minute run, which if you're newer in the game and you happen to have a Chloe and a bunch of Michelles, it's probably, honestly, it's probably still not worth it by the time it takes you to get the max skills and 6-star the units, which is probably what, and put decent runes on them, which is what you would want to do to make the run faster. You can probably build a better team that's safer. But that being said, it's an option, and maybe there are some improvements to this team that I haven't thought about that would allow you to actually make this a usable team. I don't think are ever going to be able to use a comp like this to auto Dragon's B12, and it's a real shame because what a cool team it would be. The problem is the AI. So I haven't tested Michelle, but unless Michelle's AI works differently, which I don't think it does, the Rashid or the Miangs, they will not use that buff increase when they have 100% HP. So what happens is once I hit the auto button, all of the monsters, even when the skill 2 or skill 3, whatever the skill is that increases the turns of the beneficial effects, they just don't use it until they have taken damage. And that sucks. Also, the Chloe's AI uses it as soon as it comes up. So it just doesn't work. If there was a way to program the AI so that Chloe only used her skill 3 when she didn't have immunity, when she didn't already have immunity, and you could program the Rashids and Miangs and Michelles to use that buff increasing skill only when they had immunity, which would be dumb because it would make them not useful to auto other parts of the game. But if you could, then this team would be autoable. So the issue is not the team, the issue is the AI. And unfortunately, there's nothing that I can do about that. So is it a realistic build? No. But there is potential, I think, to use mechanics like this in other parts of the game, potentially, where you have 4 units is the minimum. I don't think there's a way to turn cycle enough turns with 3 units, even if they're max skilled. I'd have to test it, but I don't think there is. So obviously you can't use it in Guild Wars or Guild Siege. You could use it in Arena, and I may try some places, do a couple runs to use it. It would be a very slow team, and you couldn't use it against any teams that have any kind of stripper, because that would make it crazy. But there is perhaps limited application if you're going up against a super tanky defense, or just any team that isn't going to outspeed you. That's really strong, and the use case for that is quite limited, to nothing. But there might be. So I'll probably keep these runes on these units. Potentially putting will runes on them to use in that case might be something that's doable as well. There are no cleansers as well, which is oh no, actually there are cleansers. Yeah, they reduce the turn of harmful effects. So anyway, but I think Miang potentially is a strong unit in Dragons, regardless, because it does have a stripper that boosts attack bar, and it can, if you're running with, say, like a Fran or any kind of immunity, it potentially can increase the time of that immunity and the attack boost. The problem is the AI is kind of dumb, which is probably why people don't run it. But anyway, as you can see, we have taken 0 damage so far. We will continue to take 0 damage for the rest of this run, and eventually what you'll see is that all of the units surpass 10 turns with immunity, 10 turns invincibility, and the numbers just disappear, which makes it look like you have invincibility forever, which functionally is true. It is a bit of a perpetual. It's not quite a perpetual motion machine, because you're the one having to turn the crank. But no matter how long this run goes, you can have invincibility and immunity for all of it. So if you haven't beaten Dragons B10 and you're willing to have a team that takes upwards of an hour to beat it, just to do it one time, maybe to get a reward for Dragons B12, or to just to be able to say that you've done it, and you have a Chloe and a bunch of Michelles lying around, and some skill ups for them, then go ahead and run it one time, to prove that I'm not making any of this up and this is all actual legitimate gameplay mechanics at work. Go ahead, but obviously in terms of being new meta for Dragons B12, it's quite limited. But yeah, anyway, I do think there's perhaps some interesting teams at work if you have 3 of them max skilled, and then you can bring in another monster. So with some more theory crafting, maybe there's a monster there that allows you to beat the dragon, somewhat fast, and then it's somewhat usable for an early Dragons B12 team. But again, that's probably not feasible because the amount of time that it would take to build this team, although the requirements are really low, to build a team that can do it somewhat fast, would probably take 2 high rune requirements, and you're still manualing it. So at that point, you could probably find a team that has a fairly high success rate that you don't have to manual, right? So anyway, so here you go. So from this point on, from this point on, it looks like we have invincibility forever. So you never see the cooldowns for invincibility and immunity. So there's still a bunch of time left on this dragon. I could speed it up, but I think it's actually going kind of fast. It should be over in another minute or two, and that's it. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed watching this video. I certainly enjoyed making and building this team. If I had more time, I would actually try to strip the requirements down as low as possible. It would make the run take much longer, which already is a crazy long run, which we'll talk about when the video finally ends. But just to prove that you can beat Dragon's B10, Dragon's B12 actually. I mean, Dragon's B10 also, I'm assuming this team would work, but Dragon's B10 with basically like 4 unawakened level 4 4-star or level 1 4-star monsters. And actually you could even do it with your Michelle's could be level 3. So, and Rashid I think is a level 3 monster as well. So anyway, if enough people, like this video and want me to waste my time, I will wait till I get another Chloe, and then I will run it all 4-star, or I'll do it all level 1, all unawakened. With minimum skill ups, just to prove that it's working. The easiest, but the longest would be a Chloe and 4 Michelle's, and all Chloe 4-star and all the Michelle's 3-star, and only 2 of the Michelle's max skilled, and it would work. Like, it literally would work. And so I'd have to calculate the actual speeds to see whether you could do it with like level 1 swift speed runes, or whether you would need like level 3 speed runes. But yeah, you could do it. Probably you need level 3. You need probably some speed substats. But anyway, so yeah, I guess I'm just rambling now, waiting for the video to end. This is like sped up. I don't know how fast, but it took quite a long time to do it. And again, I'm all still, as you can see, I'm still manualing this part. This actually makes it a little bit trickier, because at this point I've forgotten how many turns of immunity I have. Like, is it 12? Is it 15? Is it 19? So this run could be faster if I autoed it back down until it was like at 5-turn immunity, and then built it up to 10, and then autoed it down to it was around actually 3-turn immunity. 2 or 3-turn immunity is you can always auto it back down, but once any monster is at 2 turns of invincibility left, then you have to manual it to make sure that the right skills are selected. But yeah, so we'll see the dragon die. We'll see its Dragon's B12, and we'll see how long it took to do the run, and why, although fun and a cool, in my opinion, use of the gameplay mechanics, a very, very, very stupid team to build, in all honesty. But that's part of the game, right? And I'm hoping that I can, or someone else can, come up with some other use cases for teams like this, because I think there are some places there, and I'll continue to think about it as well. And I already have a few ideas about where it actually could be useful, but this is where looking at the skills of the areas you want to use teams really matters. If any unit in this run had the ability to remove beneficial effects, then this team it wouldn't work, right? So definitely gonna have to check skills of the monsters we're taking it into, or the areas of the game we're taking it into, to make sure that's the case. But potentially there's a use for this case in a bunch of TOA levels, hard or otherwise, and this actually could be like a budget TOA hell team, potentially, again, as long as your speed is high enough, although again it would take like forever. So you can see there just a short 50-minute manual run of Dragon's B12. I know, why am I wasting my time doing stuff like this? There's no benefit at all. But I did have fun doing it, so hopefully you had fun watching the video. If you thought I was stupid for doing it, if it amused you, if you thought it was cool, if it was worth your time, please hit that like button. and just tell people about it. Please let me know in the comments whether you thought that this was, worth it. All right, see you soon.